Rob, well, let's have a look at the later game on Saturday, New Zealand, France. Now, France, we know, are often New Zealand's bogey-sided World Cups. New Zealand talking about avenging, because it's the same venue, Millennium Stadium, avenging that 2007 result. How do you see that game going?
I'm going New Zealand all the way. There's always this talk about France being a good World Cup side, and often looking dreadful before a World Cup. You sort of think they don't have much of a chance, and credit to them. They often do put things together in a World Cup for whatever reason. It seems to just sort of, get them lifted. That sort of Gallic passion really does come to the fore at World Cups. But I think that very bogey is actually now is ready to play into New Zealand's hands, because they're so aware of it. They're so tired of hearing ad nauseum how France are a bogey side, and bogeys are there to be broken. Just as good records are there to be broken as well. And I have a feeling that the All Blacks might just do it in some style. I think they'll be very irritated by all the talk about how they're a waning force, just because they've looked a bit sloppy against some of the minnow nations. But you almost expect that. A lot of those All Blacks are going to have their A games on show.
It might take maybe an entire first half to get hit their straps.
Yeah. But when they do, we know that the All Blacks can strike from anywhere. And that just might be telling in the last sort of 20 minutes or so. New Zealand all the way for me.
Okay. Bye?
Perhaps in the end, 12 points or more.
Okay, as much as that. All right. Moving on to Sunday, Rob. Maybe not as sort of evenly weighted, at least one of these clashes, I guess. First of all, Ireland versus Argentina at 2 o'clock, and then at 5 o'clock we have Australia versus Scotland. I foresee that being a bit of a rout. But yeah, let's start with Ireland versus Argentina.
Yeah, that may just turn out to be possibly the thriller of the quarterfinals. It looks like a real ding-donger. I mean, the Argentinians have played above themselves, and they're playing a much more expansive type of rugby at this World Cup. It's not just about their scrum and the tenacity of their tackling and scrambling, etc. They've actually played quite a well-rounded, almost like a total rugby, and they won't be intimidated by Ireland. But having said that, I think in Northern Hemisphere conditions, Ireland being a well-established, Six Nations team of note these days, the Irish should have too much in the tank, despite the fact that, of course, they've had lots of injuries. Losing Paul O'Connell is a massive blow to them in their second row. That leaves a big hole to fill. And of course, Sean O'Brien with his suspension, that's also a little bit of a killer in terms of their breakdown game. Sexton, they're still sort of teetering, I see, in the media about will he, won't he. You start suspecting the longer it goes to the weekend, maybe he won't make the cut, which could also be influential. But I think Ireland might just still be able to get over the line. But that one may be very close. That could be the closest of all the quarterfinals. But Ireland by a couple of points, perhaps, for me.
Okay. And finally, yes, Australia versus Scotland. Any chance of an upset here?
This is the one perhaps I've been dreaming of an upset more than anything else, as a lot of South Africans would. I think there'll be quite a few South Africans who will sort of be wearing their kilts for that one, mainly as a mark of respect to Australia for how well they've done at this tournament, and the fact that we ideally, wouldn't it be great if they were knocked over unexpectedly, and South Africa, if they progress, might not end up facing them at some stage later on. So. But I don't see it happening. A big downer for Scotland is somebody like Ross Ford, who I think is a bit like their Bismarck du Plessis at hooker. Also now a victim of suspension, although there's an appeal taking place, etc. But Scotland aren't a big enough rugby nation to be able to afford to lose guys like Ross Ford, Johnny Gray. I see one of the Gray brothers lock pairing is also out for suspension reasons, so that actually takes a little bit of the sting out of them. I still think there'll be lots of Scottish passion, but whether that's enough to eclipse the sort of Australian quality of rugby that they've been showing, I doubt it. I have to say reluctantly that Australia by, I would think, 10 or more.